You're ready, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ah.
Okay, so I'm seeing another portal. So it's actually just like a big black hole, and these shards of all colours, including new colours of. It's almost like someone went around with a pinprick around the edge of it, and every light shining through is a different colour. So it took me 1 second to see it and 3 minutes to explain it to you. Okay, so that's in front of us. Did you say you can see it?
Yes.
Okay. So we're standing in front of it. I guess we're going in. Are you happy to go in?
Yes, let's go in.
God, I'm on your right again. This is really weird.
I know you are. It's like that every time now.
So now my left hand's holding your right hand. This has been like almost all months. It's just like there's been a complete flip or something. It's significant. I don't know why. But okay, we're walking in. I'm holding your right hand. Oh my goodness. So we just turned around and faced each other, and you about 30, 40 times flipped. You're a woman standing in front of a man, a woman, man, woman, man, woman, man. And even though I can see the two as separate, I understand that they've become one. They are as one. Okay, so it's showing me that we're actually going to start practicing to learn in full consciousness to move into a balanced state of masculine and feminine between us, regardless of gender.
Mm.
I can see a golden ball of energy over to my right, because that's your left, and it's quite translucent, and I know it to be the golden child energy. It's going to be getting stronger and stronger and stronger, so it'll become less and less translucent. But at the moment, there's nothing in that translucent, making a triad over to my right. Okay, I'm going to say for me, that was an activation. I just felt a huge explosion of energy, but it felt like a wave, but it was a huge explosion of energy in my womb.
Mm.
No, base, no, in between, right in between. I think it's at the perineum, from the
Mm.
perineum, but just everything just lit up. It was like a slow motion explosion when I can't even remember what I said now. As the feminine and masculine become one, the whole paradigm, their whole paradigm shifts into preparation for the Trinity. And everything, like you're in this quickening process at the moment. Like there are I said last week about the motherboards. I was trying to explain how like whole motherboards are being taken out. So it's a whole section of consciousness. So let's say everything to do with truth and non-truth, integrity, to yourself and to others. Like this motherboard that's being taken out is like what's happening in the brain. That's like we've been over the last few days collecting, having all these little, tiny little triggers that bringing the awareness in, and then the next one comes in, the next one comes in, and then maybe a massive big one comes in, and whatever you arrange for yourself. But like this whole motherboard section's being removed from our consciousness. And when that's removed and the new and everything is upgraded and it goes back in, it becomes like an electrical current, like a connected current on a circuit grid. So when all of these individual parts of the motherboard do it in themselves, they're also at the very same time doing it for the whole. So humanity collectively is in the quickening process now, like the last major bits. And then collectively a whole paradigm shift in frequency to a whole new frequency is anchored in and embodied.
I just faced the third energy. So I'm looking around. And
Can you say that again, Todd? I didn't understand what you said.
I said that I was facing the third energy.
As in the golden ball there, the third energy?
Yeah.
You faced
And
it, yep.
And then I heard a question. It wasn't a statement, it was a question. Are you, now that the masculine and feminine is balanced within you, are you working together, in the shared experience, and inputting that or bringing that to the relationship, for instance? Or are you doing it with me? And I said, well, both. And then I heard, are you doing it through me? And I said, are you doing it through us? And then that's all I heard. So I don't know. I just got the impression that we're actually working in the field of the third energy. And what you said is true. We're bringing those internal balance to the external relationship, but it's all three.
Yeah. So I was saying, oh, sorry.
No, I'm good.
We went into that black hole, and the whole edge of it was all those lights. When we went in, it became a massive big long tunnel. Massive big long tunnel. And I feel like, I started in the head of the sperm, and then I moved down through this tunnel, and I'm going towards the end of the sperm, like to the very tail end point of the sperm. Now, hang on, I just have to wait, because that's what I saw, and then they explained it as, so the merging of the masculine and feminine coming together has happened in stages, and then you come across another layer in the self and in the collective of, oh, now we need to work, move past. Gosh, last week's word, I can't remember. But we're gone to another layer in order so the masculine and feminine coming closer together. And now when you said about facing the sperm, I had just watched us. Somehow we come out the end of that tail, that I guess it's like the 0 point, or it's through the eye of the needle. And we've played with this and practiced with it enough that when these last final things are gone, at the end of that, we birth the golden child into existence, and at the same time, we birth ourselves into the new human, the Trinified human, the human that contains the 369 frequency, Christ consciousness. This is actually what we're doing. Well, pictures of what we're doing. So, yeah, when you said all of that, I'm like, oh my goodness, that's the same, just from a different perspective. Like what happens in the groups, when there's fewer of us, it's enough space where we're all talking our perspectives, and we all realise by the end that we'd had a shared experience.
Yeah.
So we get birthed into a new human. We're already experiencing it, like both of us I think it was on Wednesday. It was. You did it in the morning group. I did it in the evening group. We left our bodies and found ourselves looking at our humans through a new set of eyes that we both understood to be like our soul eyes.
Right.
So we're about to get, we're very soon to get the third aspect, the golden child, come online. And it's like, how many perspectives, layers of the perspectives does the human have? Well, each one of those does the same thing. So it's almost like you're going to see the world through Trinity, the world through the triangle.
Yeah. So just to fill in and confirm that it's all the same experience.
Yeah.
So when we stood in front of the portal, and those shards were the same shards I saw the other night, by the way. And as we approached it, the center of it was a pupil, and it was told me that it was an eye. Oh, okay. In addition to everything, it showed me that part of it, or represents an eye. So we went in, and everything happened, and then as we went in through the pupil, it became like a long black tail, is what I saw. We were in it, and so what happens is as we came out of it, and then we're with the golden sphere, the golden child. What you just said, I didn't even know I could say it, but now that you said it, now I know what I witnessed. And what it was that the birthing, like you said, it's actually three births. It's the golden child, the feminine, and the masculine. And this is the 369, because it was showing me that there are many things, many streams that we carry that are paralleling us, such as, for instance, like Soulogy would be an example. And there's other examples. So it was showing me how when these three births, that the three and the echo 369 was all happening like a stream of right. Okay. So I'm glad you said that, so I could know what I saw.
So then I'm just going to add to that, because I was shown that each one of us are going to have our full multi-layered feminine experience personally. And like, if it's for him, he's going to have his mirrored, like his own feminine energy experience. And then when she has her own feminine experience, she's doing it in multi-layers, because she's also doing it as like all the things that happen to a woman, or the life that the woman lives, is the experience part and his is more the observer part. When he does he's going to have to go through every layer of aspects, all the duality, the wounds, the trauma, like clearing all of that from personal life experience as a man. Is this making sense to you? Anyway, there's three births. And what we've been doing our whole lives, but it's been getting, it's been, the waves of labor have been getting closer and closer and closer. So last year we did personally the feminine, and he did his aligning with his own feminine. We've currently, in the last 3 months, been doing our masculine. So he's really been diving deep because of his experience. And then he was able to observe, her masculine that's been any of her masculine that's been played out in the last 3 months. She's been doing at that level, more the observation. She's observing herself her own masculine energy, and her feminine energy, she's experiencing it. So we've been doing this in the last 3 months, and we've achieved it to have been ignited, activated on within, anchored and embodied in the new grid, becoming the grey code. So I really waffled there. Sorry about that, but I think you got it.
No, it came through. I've seen that somewhere before, and I can't remember what part of it, but it connected it. I forgot too that one of the or once the whole thing was shown about the birthing and the 369, that the reason that it wasn't showed itself as an I to me, and I don't know if this is meant for me or if it's collective or what, but basically it told me that it would also be the birth or the circuitry of the three eyes would come online together, which basically it is for okay, so it's taking this sacred marriage within and everything that comes from it. It's clearing the third eye, film or veils or whatever. I'm not really sure. Totally clearing. Like that's what it was showing me. Like when this occurs, that's one of the triads that will be birthed. And
I've got a little bit to add to that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so while you were talking, they were showing me that by June, when the golden child energy is completely anchored, we've done this has been the feminine, masculine done, and enough to bring in the plasma part of the golden child. So by June, and we'll all be practicing, learning, practicing, sifting through layers, that are blocking it or whatever. That golden child arrives with there's certain masculine programs that you have that I'm 100% don't have, but the golden child aspect does, because that's those parts went to the golden child. I haven't been able to relate to those parts to you because I haven't had the experience. I don't have the programming. Not to say that I don't have the polar opposite, which is how the duality that comes in. But the golden child is going to solidify and anchor a deeper level or a higher frequency of working as a trinity energy within yourself, learning, remembering all those programs, the signals in your field that you're sending out. Is this making sense, Todd?
Yeah, it makes total sense. What you're saying is that you carry your lineage, you could say, and this could be any two forces. We'll just use us. So you carry your lineage per se. I carry mine, that are energetic makeup, and the third energy, the golden child, carries both. And so when this point is when that birth occurs, part of the mechanics of it, I guess you could say, is what you're saying is that is what brings everything into it fully solidifies, because what we don't have because we haven't experienced the human part, it has, and there's an instant, you could say like an instant remembrance or an instant what am I trying to say? Like, where the motor starts, like, just an instant ignition.
Yes. And they're showing me that, and I don't know anything about astrology at all, but on the 28th, there's going to be 5 planets lining up. That's all I know about it, but they showed me how that's like a boost, a boost of almost like it creates a boost, like a connection between Earth and those 5 planets. It's like it's creating numerous triangles, like the picture I drew, Todd. Oh my goodness, like the picture I drew.
Guess what?
This
but
time
that
it's planets for humans.
well, the,
So then that becomes a universal shift in frequency. I mean, that affects everything. What we're every time we're doing one of these, gosh, I used to have this perfect explanation or name for it now, for like a collective field layer of the field. Like as that leaves, then it ignites, so virtually at the same time. So we're starting to build a connection. So you do a practice, you practice, and the more you practice with it, and the more you learn from it, the stronger the connection between, you know, this part of me and the golden child part of me, the stronger it becomes. And they're saying by June, that will be anchored and embodied upon the planet.
hmm.
And then the next, so that'll be fully anchored. The feminine will be fully anchored. And so from June, so July, August, by September, is it a solstice, another equinox or something in September?
uh, there's a
The third part, the masculine,
yeah, September. That's right. It's an
there's
equinox.
something that's, yeah. And yeah, oh my goodness, the power of this is just, is phenomenal.
And so it's funny because the 28th is Tuesday when you have double session. Well, it's my Tuesday, but still, that seems to happen.
The USA group is going to be on that day.
Uh-huh. Yep.
You know, the golden child was always there, and we've had periods where we've had incredible connection to it, and then we've had to go and do all the work, you know, to raise ourselves back up to do the next level. I mean, God, it's all just, everything is just exactly the same, no matter what metaphor you come up with, I come up with, anyone comes up with. It's like a, you know, there's a higher frequency one just above and a lower frequency one just below. Yeah. So one of the reasons the masculine energy is going last, there's a very important reason that the masculine energy is going last. And they're telling me the reason for that is that he becomes like the creator. He plays like the masculine's known as the creator role, and she's the creation. She dreams it, he brings it into the reality. And they're showing me by the end of September next year, they will have worked out all the nuts and bolts, like how they just bounce off each other, finishing of the thoughts at the same time. You know, everything just becomes closer to more one. So when they're both truly working together, consciously unified, the power of, you all become like your own batteries and chargers. I know I haven't got the words. It's just so fast and it's so huge. I just don't have the words for it, but you will have, I'm sure.
September this year.
Yep, solstice, September solstice, June solstice, the golden child gets anchored and embodied in, and then the equinox in September ignites it. Like, okay, and now you've got the next 3 months where it's anchored and embodied and it's manifesting new realities quite, you know, really, really fast. But we'll be conscious, powerful creators. What's not love no longer belongs is being pulled out in the motherboards or brushed away or vacuumed up, or like, it's just that we're just keeping our highest data at the moment and letting all the old data drop away. And each time we do that, we take a step towards, a higher frequency again. Mm, Collaborations. Collaborations will only occur when all the data, when all the frequencies are the same. That is when you'll know that the group or the full collaboration, when there's such reverence and respect and honor and integrity for each other, the differences are no longer a problem, but quirky and beautiful. But you practice this yourself first, then you'll practice it in your first chosen mirror, and you'll make decisions on who else you want to practice it with, and then you'll bring it into groups, and then this frequency brought into communities. Concentric circles, and we've seen that in a few sessions ago. Remember, we went somewhere and it was all these like circles, but it wasn't a spiral. Yep. So it was showing me that it just becomes, you get it right here, you get it truly right here, and then you can see what's not quite working, and then you get that right, and you just keep jumping up like walking upstairs. Every stair or every circle you move through is choices that took you closer to that space of nothingness and everything all at once.
Mm-hmm.
I feel a bit silly saying this, but they just said you commanded it. You sent this out and you commanded it. The signal came from universal intelligence, other planetary energies came through. You spoke it, as did many, create it in their ways. They may have painted it or drawn it or sung it, or people were sending out a signal for what we're achieving right now and are days away from birthing. And I've just been told this is why I've been kept up all night. I didn't sleep because they wanted me in full consciousness at my 3D, pure 3D levels. It was like an override because I was awake. That made it easier. Well, that was perfect for me. We've all done it in different ways, but an override happened while I was fully alert. A rewrite, the new script. Oh, yeah, a new script. Give her an Oscar and a new script. Hey, they just showed me this. I'm going to have to say it. So a video that I got this morning was and I think it said, "Don't wake her up early." And there was a male lion went over and, sniffing around the female lion. She came out clawing and scratching and, until he cowered down. Do you remember it?
Yeah, I sent it to you.
Yeah, I know. Right? So when it came through, and you've done that, things like that a lot in the past, and I've laughed along with you. This morning when it came through, it felt old. It felt like a bad program. And they showed me that because they just previously showed me that we're actually going to drop those old programs that we have of the feminine, of females on the planet and males on the planet. Like they were collective programs. So why did we all laugh at that? Because we know the potential that is possible, but that can happen once or twice a year, and it changes the whole language of everything that comes out of the mouth after that. So they're showing me that we're dropping our old scripts off that. That's just not going to exist anymore. And when it does come through, there will be a ooh, that wasn't very nice. Like it's a deep AI at
Yeah.
a human level. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was one of the programs of those sorts of things are keeping the separation, the
Yeah.
ongoing, you
Yeah.
right, playing a code over and over and over. So yeah,
Well,
where it was funny,
yeah, it makes
even, yeah.
yeah, it makes sense. Really makes sense. Well, it's like being sarcastic. It's like making a joke, even though it's meant, but there's a line now. It's a different place. There's reverence and sacredness, and of course the connectivity. So yeah, if somebody were to send something like that in this, when this fully anchors and arrives, obviously it wouldn't feel right. But the question, I
No.
think, it's probably more likely that those things just won't be around anymore. That those old, you could say those old creations, and you're right, it is tied to AI brilliantly.
And so subtly, because really, if you'd sent that to me 4 months ago, I probably would have laughed. But today's the first time you've sent me something like that. And I actually got a jolt. I'm like, I didn't like that. But think about all the cartoons that you send of, that they make of the males and females, together.
Think about
There's,
movies.
yeah, that's I was moving up there, like just at the slightest most. If we need to look through our children's cartoon books or story books, I mean, it's everywhere, Todd.
Yep.
So that is going to be, one of the next things that we'll start seeing in the following months happening in systems and also, in relationship, like all over the planet. This is the new code of that no longer being there.
That's right. And that's why anything that supports the old will go away as well, whether it's one meme or one video or one uh, TV station or one platform or one
Mm-hmm.
social community or whatever. It's not going to matter. It'll be like a house of cards. There'll be no cards
Yeah,
left.
yeah. And so I sent you a text about an hour ago. I can't remember it word for word, but I said to you, the Soulogy is a like something like a consciously built network
Of the new grid.
of of on the new grid of oneness. Like,
Right.
and this right. So this is one of the layers that the collective layers that we are all clearing, like the old motherboard now. Replacing it with all new technology, new electronics, new communication levels. That's why so many of us seeing the telepathy expanding, our connection. Like, yeah, we're seeing the expansion. We're experiencing it, but it's us bringing it in at our own comfort level, in our own way, getting used to it. Yes, I like that. I'm locking that in. And like, when you first start driving a car and you have to think all the time, and now you can hop in a car or however longer, and it's become ingrained in your subconscious.
Yeah.
So we're actually doing this at the moment, and we're triggering each other at times and sitting with it in whatever way you do it or I do it, or we often do it together. And we're both saying, yes, this is the match code that is a win-win. We love this, works for us. We're locking that in, and then that gets ingrained into the subconscious. We're teaching ourselves. We're
Yeah.
parenting ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah. And each time you do it, it's like, it's like when I was younger, I had thick curly hair, and if I worked with it, I could train it, right? Like, oh, I guess you would say like a new neural pathway, but it just reminds me of it when you're saying in that moment through our actions in our own way, we lock it in.
Yeah, we're recoding ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so they're saying to me, then they said it before, and I just, yeah, okay, that's fine, I've got that, that doesn't matter, but they're saying again that the call out that happened 2 nights ago, it arrived in as a light language,
Yes.
and it anchored into me, into all of my surroundings. It got responses. So when all the dogs started barking and howling and everything, it created a mirror for itself. So it arrived in as a frequency, was spoken out loud as part of the anchoring. So it's actually a full-blown activation.
Mm.
And that's the way that I did it, and we do it. And everyone has arranged, their own in their own ways also. Some people remember what that is, and some people don't even need to know. It just happens naturally for it. It doesn't matter how it happens, but it was saying to me, out of the two and into the three, with it both there at the same time. So out of duality and into Trinity. So out of the two and into the three. And you think about the date, like that a couple of days ago,
Uh-huh.
2023. It's like that was code, Todd. So it doesn't matter where we look. Once we get better and better and better at reading energy, and that becoming our number one, which is going to our number one form of communication, we're practicing reading frequencies, reading energy through the heart.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it's moves away from well, look, you can't become a greater master of energy, as such is the opportunity here on earth, unless you know how to read it. And so that's like the first part, and you're right, because what that's doing is changing our perspective, changing our rhythms. We no longer look at, let's say, a trigger, okay, like we no longer look at it in the way that we used to. We look at it as the energy telling us something, right? So like the
Yeah,
personal goes away, and you're right, it's because it's being sensed through the heart.
yeah. So again, back to that Lion movie. So I felt the trigger occur from the center of my core of my being. My whole being felt it at once. And where once upon a time, I mean, not about that, but like a trigger, you immediately go into emotion. And then you, from emotion, you go into um, fear, usually, or love. It's for some things. And from after that, you go into the story. This was a trigger. The trigger happened. There was no stories. There was no excessive emotion. There was just oh, that was interesting. What was that? And then, well, my next story was that didn't feel very good. That didn't feel funny or very nice, that sort of stuff. It was really clean and sharp and instant.
Mm, like a nudge,
Yeah, like
like a.
it felt like a knock from the inside. Like
Mhm.
I'd say the core would have happened at the base of my sternum is where I felt it, and it sort of went out into my heart, like it sent a wave out into my heart. Yeah, so this is what we're shifting into these abilities.
Yeah.
Okay, so this gets anchored and fully embodied and fully activated in our new Earth grid that millions of people around the planet have been consciously aware of or building or grid work, all of it. You know, anything that we've done in purity has been working towards this. 28th, it gets anchored, embodied, and activated into being the true power, for lack of better wording, but clear understanding. It becomes the higher frequency on the planet. There's the better wording.
On the 28th.
Yeah.
And
And the planetary lineup is going to be acting as a physical representation. Like we get to see it happen there as we're doing it here.
yeah, that's wild. Literally alignment.
Yeah.
Well, something just happened.
Mm-hmm.
It's in that. It's in that same spot between the sacral and the solar. And I thought it was something that was, because I felt like I was going to throw up. And I thought it was something that was, and it still could do it, I guess, that was there that was pushing up. It started getting into my chest and throat, and I felt like I was going to get sick. But then I realized that something had actually entered me. Um, and I guess anchored or further anchored. I don't really know. The only thing I do know is I understood that like it was giving me a taste of our power individually and couple. I mean, just our power, the new human, and and I felt that very deeply. It was not unnerving. It was a little bit wild. Um, and I guess the other part of the understanding was that this is why it's had to go in steps and steps because it's too much.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I got that before as well. It's happening like taking one step at a time because it is too much. You need to, you accept it, you release or surrender or transmute, transform, 0 point, like anything that needs to be done, which means, some old parts of self, the 3D parts of self, those programs die away, and then you start it again. And when you were talking before, that they were showing me the 3, the 6, the 9, and like if you think of a 3 as a human who's now got their feminine, their masculine, and their golden child all activated, so they're a 3. The 6 is when you are actually participating in a union with that, and the two of you have worked out how does this work together. Oh my God, so from there, then you become 3 aspects: the feminine, the masculine, and the golden child, which is the 9 energy. That's the trinified state, fully anchored and embodied upon the planet.
Hmm. So this is weird, but I guess I have to mention it. This happened right away in the very beginning. I saw, I don't see like you do. I don't believe I do. It's not that it doesn't matter. I do it another way, but when I get visuals, they're really clear. And this kind of like, what do you call it? A wrap? Like, just think of like a scarf, a really long one though, right? And huh? Okay. And so all of a sudden, and I saw this so clearly, the depth, the dimension, everything. It was so clear. I saw it. It looked like it was flying like it was in a wind, and I couldn't quite see yet. I didn't look what it was attached to, but I knew it was a woman, and it was kind of flowing like a sperm. Okay, and I thought, well, what is that? You know, and then just right now, that's why I brought it up, because this whole thing you were saying about earlier about the feminine, and then the way you explained it, the feminine and the masculine, the feminine and the masculine. Uh, I can't remember your words. It's like 15 minutes ago. So, but what happened was the question came in, or the statement or something that said, um, there's a reason she was the sperm and you were the womb, or the, you know, and
Yeah.
it's because it's symbolizing the balance within in each, right? Or the you know what I mean? Like it's a like I would say like a pole shift, energetically or metaphorically. Like it,
Yeah.
that part got completed. I know that was 2-3 days ago, but seeing this thing I saw, which is clear as anything I've ever seen. In fact, it might be the most clear thing I've ever seen. But it was, it was coming from her, and and it was just like I was going to look at this woman. I figured when I finished looking, I'd see it like a whole dress and everything, but it wasn't. It was to show me that that piece was the sperm, and that she was the sperm. Now I know that sounds crazy.
All right. So they just gave me this wild, showed me how you have the experience to the degree that you can, and then you observe it. So they just showed me this. They said, so a couple of days ago, you had the experience of being a sperm and shooting towards something, right? So your experience was, you know, some explosion of energy was about to happen,
Mm.
right? And so that's the closest you can have to that experience, because you're a woman and you don't have a penis that you can ejaculate from and create sperm. So first you experience it and then you observe it. So to me, Todd, that suggests that at some point, in the last day or maybe the next couple of days, but at some point, you'll actually do a conscious, very powerful, and fully present masturbation.
Well, I already did today. I mean, I had to wake up in the
So
middle of the night.
I embarrassed you and say that out loud, but you're owning it, so I will, right? So
What happened in the
you're
middle of the
had
night,
this
though?
morning,
What's that?
the experience that, well, whenever you had it, the experience that you had, right,
Oh my
was
God.
you're the man, so you can do it at a denser level, like at more and more physical. I did it to the degree that I could. I saw a sperm, which I was trying to say, was a comet, but it wasn't. It started off as a ball, and then a ball of energy, and then it was moving forward and became a sperm. That was me,
Uh,
doing form of, that connection. And then so they're showing me this is a metaphor for what they're trying to say before. You'll go through the feminine, and if you're female, it's been a denser experience because you've actually embodied it at every possible way you could.
oh
The
my
same
God.
thing as a male, right? But then you'll do, like when I do my masculine, I'll experience it through observation or observing you, basically observing you, right, and vice versa.
Uh, well, I mean, it sounds right. I just know that I woke up in the middle of the night, and I don't do that. And it was like I was on automatic pilot or something. I got up, and it was just like, it wasn't even, now that I think about it, it wasn't normal.
Well, it
Okay.
is normal. Let me tell you why. Because when we're together,
Mhm.
like you've been told at specific times that we have consciously co-created something together with the highest frequencies of
Sure.
pure love. What
That's
did they want you to do?
plant the seed.
Yep, one way or another, that
Yeah.
creation had to be seeded.
Well, I mean, that's what it was like. It was just I woke up there was no thought, there was no horniness, there was none of that. I just got up and did what I had to do and was kind of like, wow, that was awesome. I mean, I had to like balance, like
Uh,
put my yeah. But anyway, that makes total
I,
sense. Yeah.
I just did that because I don't know how far you're going to go with all your details, but
Oh no, I'm not going to go. No, it's just
no,
like I said, I didn't think about it till you brought this up. But yeah, and so this goes back to this whole thing. I think it came out today. I mean, okay, I'm trying to like, okay, so the most powerful thing we can do is, the body is no longer if we're a new human, it's a new body. I mean, so the action, the thought, the thoughts, the words, and the actions that are that are in that frequency of or that are trinified, are how are the most powerful thing we can do. And I guess
that's right.
this is part of it, because you used to tell me this back in the day. Whatever would happen, you'd be like, okay. And the first couple times I was like, well, I got to go seed the earth or whatever the case was. But now I get it. I mean, I really get it. Not that, you know what I mean? That makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense, especially given the vision and the dimensional experience we had.
yeah. So any co-creation, any aligned dream that you and I have had, and we've actually brought up with our love with all the golden particles. We created a picture of it. It showed. So when all that's aligned and is pure co-creation, like they're showing me, like in what I was saying about the masculine, fully anchoring all this by September. Like we would have had all this time activating then the third energy, and then the masculine gets fully anchored and embodied. It's there. I'm not saying it's not there, but it's like the more we practice it, it solidifies the connection and builds up that oneness of that trinity. Um, that'll be the most first. It's the most powerful thing you can do for yourself, and then it'll be the most powerful thing you can do with each other. Is, anything that you think you want for your business, or abundance or great health, or you know that has to come from the center of the being, from the
Mhm.
very center of the being, in absolute state of unified oneness.
Well, I mean, and I think that yeah, what you're saying is totally resonates, and I know it's truth, and it makes sense because the core of, let's say, Eden, of the Garden of Eden, of paradise, there would be no porn. Obviously, there'd be no lust. It would the act, the physical act that is the most physical representation of the triad of creation, whatever you want to call it. The male, the man and the woman, intimate, but it looks nothing like, like you said. There's no uh, force. There's no thrusting. We're talking about, this is how the real reproduction is. It's an energetic thing, and it was always
Yeah,
a conscious thing. And then, of course, this is how we set the realm up. But the bottom line is, the two come together again and again and again and again and again. And each time they come together, that intimacy, even if it's to the most literal physicality, is done with the purpose of creating something new from the frequency itself. So the seed represents what it represents. You know, I mean, this is
It,
deep.
it, it, it actually comes from their pure love. That is the center core of their co-created
Mm-hmm.
unified universe. So it comes from the love and through how much they love each other. And love is no longer just love, it's trust, faith, respect, self-accountability, integrity, communication, conscious communication. It, it's all of it. So when all of them, and they'll all be ignited, and these two will learn, not just us two, but any two will learn how to do that, a bit more and a bit more, because they're anchoring and embodying, they're consciously anchoring and embodying these new bits of information that, can come from a thought or dreams or a certain frequency of something you've listened to. I mean, any way they can come in, but we're anchoring and embodying this, and we're taking our time doing this because we're worth it. We deserve to do this in the exact right and ideally yummiest way possible. And it's not just two humans coming together making love. It's anything in the frequency of Helios Gamos, in the frequency of that pure love.
Of course, you could have two, and I know gender really doesn't matter, but I'm just trying to make. You have two business associates or something. Two people that are considering doing something together. They could be same sex. It could be platonic. They could meet. They could both be carrying the same frequency. They could recognize it in each other, and the handshake or the hug or some other gesture could be the act of conception itself, right? I mean,
yeah.
So this is, but the couples, obviously, because of the symbolic living flesh, spirit flesh representation that they have, uh, carry really an extremely high level of potential in terms of the illumination that they can, and the creations they can come produce or birth because of their their presence in in the in the in this transition. Like because we're coming out of this polarity where love was trashed, sex was trashed, or intimacy was trashed, and so on and so on. Now you have and there's others I know, but you have these couples that represent all the polarities, and carrying with them, as we all do, just has to be woken up, is that the God coding and such. But the couples are, it's an extremely powerful thing. And the more I hear about it, I've heard about it for years, but and of course I've experienced it with you, but I don't really look much further than that. But now I can see that, if I even just like take a glance at the earth, they're just popping up everywhere.
Right. So do you remember our last session? At the end of the last session, I remember them now talking about how, because individuals have done this in themselves, then they're going to be creating these high frequency mirrors very quickly.
Mm.
And the ones that were there, they've been going through this, reset, letting go, they've been going through that. Like, as you achieve this within self, the first thing that happens is you create a connection with another. And that's building like a sacred geometry, like a light matrix, that the connection between the two of you. So you start operating as one. So, I don't like labels or anything like that, but they said the term twin flame represented like this process. And it's been getting watered down because everyone thinks that they're a twin flame and I've got a twin flame. And it became part of a like an old fairy tale, one of those, you know, Snow White and no, well, the Prince Charming and one of them. I like Fiona and Shrek the best myself, but you know that the code that was the code. But none of those stories ever showed the truth, and the truth is it's freaking hard work
Yeah.
to be in a relationship, and especially like for a large part of last year, have to do all of it like at once, and manage to get through that. So you know, the fairy tales are what everyone thinks. You know, well, I've got this idea in my head, and it is, you know, it's absolutely like that for the first 2 or 3 years. Or then you start. Then the other. Oh, anyway, I'm waffling, but you know what I mean, don't you?
Yes.
So at the end of the last session, they said because so many around the planet have collectively achieved this themselves, then if they're not already in that, they'll be bringing in mirrors of that very quickly. And then from there, they said, then we move to like groups, and you're having experiences of this in the groups. And then it'll, you know, it expands, and it goes out to the collective, and then it just all through.
Yes.
Gosh.
Mm. Mm.
That feels like that's it now, Todd.
What's that?
I feel like we're done.
Oh, yeah. I was kind of thinking the same thing. Although I've got that whole feeling of the feet standing on the earth and all the her energy coming up through the body, and I saw or okay, let's turn it off.
No, keep going. That's fine. Finish what you started.
Um, no, well, because well, okay. So two friends of ours, they heard me mention that in a couple of sessions back, and one of them had really tapped into it. So there must be something going on with that. But on the masculine side, she's very lit, and she's very good friends with you, and she is sharing that information tomorrow. And so that there's something going on with that. I don't know. I guess more to be seen later. But okay. So I know what part of what she was talking about, and that she's tapped into, is the whole thing that happened, or how it happened, or what happened with the masculine specifically. Some type of obstacles or things that were set up where he could not do this, and that this is coming online. So I've just noticed that it's happened 4 or 5 sessions, 4 or 5 of the last, this is what, the 10th session, right?
I think so, but these sessions are like weather reporters. Like what
I know.
we're doing together is we go into these
Hmm.
to receive the activation, and then to anchor and embody. Like have a day or two to anchor them in, and then we get the next part. That I guess we take another step up and another step up. So these are current intel experiences in our awareness.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're not every. Oh, let me turn it off. Not every 2 or 3 days anymore. It seems like it's every day now that we're getting called.
Yeah.
All right, let me turn this off.
Okay.